Welcome back everyone to Formula 1 2021 for your qualifying review for the Spanish Grand Prix. So far this season we have had a different pole sitter on each of the races, with Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas with all one apiece. Would that trend continue in today's session, or would one of those three drivers claim their second of the season? As always, spoiler warning ahead for today's qualifying results. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you want to help out the channel, but without further ado, here are your results. In Grand Prix number 270, Lewis Hamilton claimed his 100th Formula 1 pole position, the first ever driver in Formula 1 history to reach a century of pole positions, which quite frankly is just a ridiculous statistic to reach, and really, without doubt, confirming once again just how good he is and just why he's one of the greatest of all time. But he was kept honest today. He was kept honest today because it was not Valtteri Bottas in second place. No. It was Max Verstappen, just 300th of a second behind Hamilton. Red Bull versus Mercedes. Once again, it's on this weekend between our two championship challengers. Max so close in that Red Bull, but we'll have it all to do because with Bottas third, Sergio Perez in 8th, it looks like it's going to be those traditional top three battling it out again for the podium this weekend. Another fantastic Saturday for the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc sees him start 4th for tomorrow's Grand Prix for the third time this season, with fellow Frenchman Esteban Ocon P5 getting his best result of the 2021 season. Carlos Sainz P6, another great result from the Spaniard, with lead McLaren Daniel Ricciardo P7. We mentioned a moment ago, Sergio Perez, a difficult day down in 8th place, never really got under control of that car, had a spin during the session. We'll talk about his day a little bit later on. Lando Norris was P9, another driver struggling in today's conditions, with Fernando Alonso rounding out your top 10. Neither Aston Martin was able to get through to Q3 for the first time this season, with Lance Stroll starting 11th, Sebastian Vettel in 13th place, with both of them most likely taking an alternate strategy to the top 10 in tomorrow's race. Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri was able to split the two Aston Martin cars, but Gasly and Stroll 8,000ths and 16,000ths of getting through to Q3. Yes, they'll be disappointed, but again, that alternate strategy we talk about so often here will be crucial in tomorrow's race. Giovinazzi, another really good drive for him in 14th place once again this weekend, making it through to Q2, with George Russell a similar story, making it through to Q2 again, but not really able to put any impression on the cars in front. Tsunoda, the big story of Q1, out in the first session, 16th place on the grid for the Japanese driver. However, with Raikkonen and Schumacher on row 9, it feels kind of like 2001 all over again. Latifi and Mazepin, your top 20. Moving on over then to your qualifying rundown, and of course we've got to start with the man of the moment, the king of the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, the king of qualifying, Sir Lewis Hamilton. 100 poles, I said it earlier, it's a bit of a bonkers statistic. No one's anywhere close. No one's even breached 70 pole positions other than Lewis Hamilton. To reach 100 in just 270 races is just ridiculous. But today's session, I don't think was one of his best days on a Saturday. He's still come away with pole position, so of course he's going to be happy in front of Verstappen, in front of Bottas. But all three of them failed to improve on their final runs, with Hamilton's pole position time being the lap he had to slow down just a little bit because of wave yellows for Sergio Perez's spin. Didn't cost him all that much because the yellow flags were just coming away when Hamilton entered that sector, so it didn't cost him too much time. We're not talking tenths of a second here. But I'm sure knowing that there was someone ahead, knowing there was yellow flags, would have played on his mind just a little bit and would have cost him a little bit of time. Nevertheless, pole position for Lewis Hamilton. A difficult day for Valtteri Bottas, who will not start on the front row of the grid. I just wonder though, with Valtteri Bottas giving Max Verstappen a lovely little slipstream in behind, I just wonder, and let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below, I wonder whether this is Valtteri from Russia last year, deliberately starting third, to get that slipstream on his teammate and overtake into turn 1. The only issue with that is in Sochi, the slipstream is so powerful down to turn 1, it's not quite the same in Spain, and there isn't quite as much room to make an overtake into turn 1. And actually, rather than praising Bottas and his sneaky moves, maybe I need to praise Max Verstappen, who cut through the traffic on that build-up lap, got himself behind Bottas, gained the slipstream for the lap, ends up second place. I don't know, I'd love to know your thoughts, but sneaky mind games from several of the drivers today. But something we didn't really see was the rest of the top 10. Another session, another Q3, where the cameras, the commentators, failed to even mention everyone outside Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas, which is extra frustrating when once again you just see how close they all are together. Ferrari though seem to be the team in that midfield that are most comfortable at this circuit, and actually over the course of this season in that midfield have been the team most comfortable in qualifying. Come race day though is where things for Ferrari seem to come undone. And for Leclerc, who is being a master at qualifying this year, and for Carlos Sainz, I think their focus tomorrow will be staying where they are, trying not to lose out to Ocon, Ricciardo, Perez. They will probably expect to come through, and we all know how good Lando Norris has been this year. But for Ferrari, their biggest Achilles heel has been tyres not lasting and losing out to guys like Stroll, Vettel, Gasly that have started on that alternate strategy. So that's going to be really interesting to see if Ferrari have made any improvements on their tyre durability this weekend. But a team that again seems to be improving is Alpine. Ocon, 5th place, really starting to build some momentum now. A driver who definitely had a lot of pressure on his shoulders for this year, not only to perform up against Fernando Alonso, but also a driver that seat was maybe in question for next year, depending on how this season went. And excluding Bahrain, he's actually been really good in that midfield, scoring points on the last 2 races in Q3. In the last 2 races, continued that trend today, beating Fernando Alonso by 0.6 of a second. That's a really solid job from Ocon today. And looking at that car's race pace from Portimao last time out, especially in the hands of Alonso, but also in practice yesterday and this morning, I really do believe they've got a great chance at beating both Ferraris and maybe both McLarens. Sergio Perez though, who I did miss out, so I'll quickly mention him, did have a bit of a scruffy session, and he will hope tomorrow he can work his way back through the field that we've seen him do so many times in his Formula 1 career. We've already seen him do it in a Red Bull on several times this season as well, but a scruffy day from Checo, almost a second off teammate Verstappen. We know he's better than this, but he's got a big day tomorrow to fight his way back up to 4th, and considering the fact all weekend long he's been really uncomfortable with this car, it's gonna have to be a pretty mega drive to beat the likes of Ferrari, the likes of Alpine, and the likes of McLaren, who will be frustrated with today's result. Another 7th place for the team. Daniel Ricciardo qualifying there this time out, and Lando Norris 9th. They will be fine with it, knowing they've been struggling quite a bit in qualifying this year. Compared to the Ferrari, compared to the AlphaTauri in the first couple of rounds, their best result is a 6th place for Daniel Ricciardo, who despite having his own issues in that car, has beat Norris 3-1 in qualifying this year. So for the Honey Badger, though his qualifying has been better than his teammates, we all know just how good Norris has been in the races this year. He'll be hungry to prove that once again this weekend, but for Ricciardo, I think this is a really good opportunity to stamp down a bit of authority. Finally, he seems used to that car, more comfortable in that car this weekend, on a track which isn't too easy to overtake, but with a tyre advantage, which I'm going to assume McLaren are going to have, especially over Ferrari. Looking at the first 3 races of the year, I think Ricciardo's got a good chance of scoring some good points this weekend. And for Lando, we've seen what he can do this year. If he can get anywhere near the level in the first 3 races, he'll also be just fine. Might try a bit of a different strategy to those in front of him, and that's going to be interesting to see who blinks first. for their first pit stop, and maybe it's going to be the likes of McLaren that try and do that 2-stop, but all of that strategy intrigue is going to be so fun to watch in tomorrow's race. Aston Martin, I mentioned it earlier, a strange day for them because for the first time this year, no car is into Q3, but both of them having the option to start on the alternate strategy, even alternate both of their strategies, so maybe set up one starting on the hard tyres, go for a 1-stop, and maybe the other car starts on the mediums, transitions to soft a little bit later on, resulting in a split strategy which could score them some points. But the biggest question mark with them, likewise with Ferrari, is can they find that bit of race pace they've been missing so far this year? AlphaTauri with Gasly in between them, also they've got to keep an eye on what he's going to be doing, because traditionally in 2021 it's been Gasly and the AlphaTauri car that's had better race pace than the Aston Martin. And with Yuki Tsunoda, the other AlphaTauri, having a tricky day out in Q1, he was not happy in the slightest. He was out in Q1. It's nice to see that he's fired up about it. He's frustrated about it, and I hope we see a race from him tomorrow that is fired up, that is ready to make some overtakes like we saw in Bahrain, but haven't really seen in the last 2 races. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Yuki can do. But no doubt Gasly is very much the team leader, like we all expected at this phase of the season. A great day for Antonio Giovinazzi sees him in 14th place, doing exactly what he needs to do, consistently beating Kimi Raikkonen and comfortably beating Kimi Raikkonen today, and being just 3/10 of getting through to Q3. It's a cracking effort from Antonio, and that bit of consistency that he's seemed to lack over the last couple of years is finally starting to arrive. He's had a really good start to the season on the quiet. George Russell, 15th for Williams, again getting through to Q2. Sadly for him, nowhere near the top 10 for this weekend, but they weren't expecting a great result. And actually, with George making it into the top 15, it does once again show that this car, even on tracks it doesn't particularly like, still is a pretty good chassis. But our final team, our final car, is anything but a good chassis. More troubles for Haas. Mick Schumacher out qualifying Nicholas Latifi. Not a bad job from Mick. A couple of tenths off Raikkonen. Half a second off Q2. Mazepin 1.2 seconds off Q2. 7/10 off his teammate. Still a lot of work to do at that team. And as we all know, with no upgrades coming for this year, things are only going to get worse as the season goes on. But to end the video on a high note, God, we'll move on there. It's not nice to see Haas going backwards. It's time for your driver of the day and ones to watch. For driver of the day, I actually don't think there's too many candidates, but I have gone with Esteban Ocon. 5th place, his best result of the season, comfortably in front of teammate Fernando Alonso, is really surprising me this year. And actually already, there's been a few times I've almost put him driver of the day, but hasn't quite beat out other candidates. So credit where credit's due for the Frenchman in Spain. I would also throw in Max Verstappen, who once again is proving just how good of a season and just how quick that boy really is. And Lewis Hamilton, a special mention for reaching 100 pole positions. And my ones to watch in tomorrow's race, there's a long list of them, but I've gone with these. With Yuki Tsunoda, my racing reviews ones to watch, 16th place in qualifying today. I'm so looking forward to seeing how much hunger this Japanese rookie truly has in tomorrow's race. But also Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly on those alternate strategies, and Sergio Perez, 8th place on the grid today. How far can he climb up, and can he claim his 3rd driver of the day in 4 races in 2021? But that's it from me for your qualifying review here in Spain. I'll be back tomorrow evening with some race reaction over on the F1 Word, and your race review a little bit later on for the 2021 Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you all very much for watching. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next one.